we're digging into a really fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty uncomfortable idea, the discomfort paradox. The core of it is that embracing the things you absolutely hate might just be the fastest way to get everything you want. So let's investigate how that could possibly work. I mean, think about that question for a second. It flies in the face of everything we're told, right? Follow your passion, do what you love. But what if the real key isn't finding joy, but manufacturing grit? What if the secret is deliberately, intentionally choosing the hardest path, first thing, every single day? Okay, to really get into this, we need to look at our case study, Joe De Sena. And this slide just lays out the incredible contrast. On one side, you have his past self from Queens, soft, unmotivated, always avoiding any kind of strain. On the other side, the man he is today, a CEO, a best-selling author, a literal icon of grit. The real question is, how on earth does a transformation like that even happen? And here's the kicker. This wasn't some huge, complex 12-step life overhaul. The claim is that this massive shift from lazy to elite all hinged on one single specific daily decision. We're going to break down exactly what that was. But first things first, to understand the cure, you've got to analyze the disease. So let's start by investigating the psychology behind always taking the easy route. What's the real cost of living a comfortable life? So picture this. It's the early 90s in Queens, and De Sena's entire life philosophy was simple. Whatever you do, take the path of least resistance. But the result wasn't happiness or fulfillment. It was the exact opposite. He became weak. He was bored out of his mind. The comfort he was chasing was actually a trap, and it was guaranteeing he'd never be successful. And this quote right here, this is his terrifying realization. This wasn't just about being lazy anymore. It was a form of self-destruction. The very thing he thought he wanted, the easy life, was the one thing standing in his way. Comfort wasn't a reward, it was the enemy. So, how did he break out of that trap? Well, that brings us to the real catalyst for change. Let's deconstruct the how and the why of his solution, which was basically a 5 a.m. brain hack built on something called voluntary discomfort. So what exactly is voluntary discomfort? It's not just about, working out or being productive. The formula is very specific. First, it has to be intentional. Second, it has to be consistent. Third, it has to be something you genuinely hate doing. And this is the most critical part. It has to be the very first thing you do when you wake up. This isn't about a new hobby. It's about rewiring your brain's entire approach to hardship. So how does this actually work? Well, think of it like this. Step 1. He would force himself to go on a grueling run at 5 a.m., an activity he absolutely despised. Step 2. By the time 6 a.m. rolled around, the single hardest, most dreaded part of his entire day was already over. It was done. Can you imagine the psychological power of that? And that leads to step 3. Everything else that happened that day, a tough business call, a stressful meeting, it all felt easy by comparison. He'd already slain his dragon before he even had breakfast. This creates a huge neurochemical advantage, basically setting a new lower bar for what your brain perceives as hard for the rest of the day. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. How does a single physical habit, a run, create a ripple effect that leads to massive financial and professional success? Let's trace that path from running to riches. You can see the whole chain reaction right here on this timeline. It all starts with that one habit, the 5 a.m. run. That habit builds an incredible amount of grit, which he then applies to his super high-pressure job on Wall Street, where he just flat-out outworks everyone. Then he gets this brilliant idea to turn the habit itself into a business model, and he founds Spartan Race. And fast forward to today, and it's a global multi-million-dollar empire, all built on that one single idea he discovered back in Queens. And get this, according to De Sena, this wasn't just one factor among many. He gives 100% of the credit for all of his success to this one single shift in mindset, from running away from discomfort to actively running towards it. It was the master key that unlocked everything else. Okay, but this is the point in our investigation where we have to get a little cynical. We have to take a step back and ask the tough questions. Is this philosophy really a universal blueprint for success, or is it just an extreme path that only works for a certain type of person? Let's take a critical look. I mean, it's the most obvious and important question, isn't it? A grueling, soul-crushing run every single day, without fail, doing something you hate. For most of us, that sounds like a perfect recipe for quitting on date 3, not a recipe for long-term success. So is this approach actually practical for a normal person? Which leads us to the next logical question. Do we really have to choose between being a comfort-seeking lazy boy and a 5 a.m. Spartan king? Is it really all or nothing? Or is there maybe a third option? A more balanced approach to growth? So let's just frame this debate by looking at the trade-offs. On one hand, you have the Spartan path. It promises total transformation through maximum intensity, but you're facing a really high risk of burnout. On the other hand, there's the middle way. The goal here is sustainable growth with moderate intensity, but you have to accept that the progress is probably going to be a lot slower. It's a classic choice, speed versus sustainability. But regardless of which path someone chooses, or if they choose one at all, the core lesson from this entire story is still incredibly powerful. It all comes down to this one idea. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Growth, by its very definition, can only happen at the edge of your comfort zone. Whether you sprint towards that edge or just walk steadily towards it, you still have to leave the comfortable spot you're in now. And so we want to end by turning this whole analysis on you. Let's forget about 5 a.m. runs for just a second. Let's think about your own life. What is the one phone call you're not making? The one project you keep pushing off? The one tough conversation you're avoiding? Because if this story teaches us anything, it's that the one difficult thing you're avoiding right now might just be the key to everything you want.